Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And that's your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back from Fox News. Trump says he knows what would happen if he faces DeSantis in 2024 presidential primary. Trump heads to Iowa next week, a trip that will spark more speculation about a potential 2024 White House run. Now, in all fairness, Trump's a braggart. I'm going to say up front, I'm a huge Trump fan. Yep, Trump's a braggart, and that's the way it is. And that's his personality, and that's not going to change. He's a braggart. He's a boaster. He's got a very large ego. And those are all part of his personality traits. Just like all of us, some of our personality traits are good, some are bad, or some are in the middle. Those are his. I have no problem with it. I wish he'd tone it down a little, but hey, he's in his 70s. He's not going to change. Less than a week before he returns to the state that kicks off the race for the White House, former President Trump says in a new interview that if he runs for president again, most other Republicans would drop out. Probably. Unless, of course, the only reason why they would consider running is to maybe get a VP slot. Now, Mike Pence was not a candidate for president in the Republican, the whole slew they had was 17, whatever the heck it was. So I'm not so sure if that would work this time. But if Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whose standing among conservatives has skyrocketed over the past year and a half, also makes a bid for the 2020 GOP nomination, Trump emphasizes, I'd beat him. Probably. And I wouldn't, if I was Donald Trump, or I should say, be respectful, President Trump, and Ron DeSantis put his name in, his hat in the ring, I wouldn't drop out. Ron DeSantis would split the party up, I'm afraid. That would happen. There's some people that are maybe independents that might pick Ron DeSantis over Trump in a general election. I don't think Ron DeSantis is going to run for president. The former president made his comments in excerpts released Sunday from an interview with Yahoo Finance that's scheduled to be published on Monday. Trump remains very popular and influential among Republican voters and GOP politicians as he continues to play a kingmaker's role in party politics, repeatedly flirts with launching a third straight presidential campaign to try and return to the White House. Now, what's kind of interesting for some of you history geeks out there, like I'm one, there was one president that had two terms, not in sequence, not sequential. Ran, didn't run, another person won, and then he ran again and won. So there's only been one in U.S. history. Now, what will be interesting for President Trump is there'll be two presidents in between when he lost and when he won again. We know Joe Biden's not going to make the whole 4 years. In fact, theoretically, if you really wanted to push it, there could be three presidents. We'll have to see, but there's going to be at least two. Kamala Harris is going to end up being president of the United States. And I'm crossing myself as I say that. But that's going to happen. Trump remains the overwhelming frontrunner in all the extremely early polls in the 2024 Republican presidential nomination race. Before we get too far, here's another thing. I mean, what could they possibly dig up or make up on Trump that they haven't done already? I mean, the guy's, he's not bulletproof, but he's darn near bulletproof. But in hypothetical questions with Trump not on the ballot, DeSantis and former Vice President Mike Pence topped a large field of potential contenders in most surveys. I like Ron DeSantis. I think if Trump didn't run, I would definitely support him, absolutely no question. Former Vice President Mike Pence, I think, is a damn good man. Fine father, fine husband, From my understanding, he was a good governor. I think he's a very good man. No question about it. I just don't think he's tough enough to get through the process of being president. It's like walking through a minefield with no helmet on. It's tough. And I don't think he'd make it. He just doesn't have, he can fight back, but he doesn't have the personnel it's needed to fight back against progressive Democrats. That's the problem. The conservative governor saw his popularity surge among Republican voters in his state and around the nation over the past year and a half, thanks in large part to his combative pushback against COVID-19 restrictions amid the pandemic. DeSantis, who faces a potentially challenging re-election next year, continues to spark more than 2024 speculation with his political trips outside of the Sunshine State. He was in Western New York on Tuesday. Now, I live in upstate New York, not too far from Western New York. I'm right basically south center upstate New York. If you know where Syracuse is, in the middle of upstate New York, you go directly south above the PA border, and that's where I live in Binghamton, New York. Not too far from Western New York, so it would have been nice to see him, but I didn't get a chance to go. He was keynoting a fundraiser as he continues to haul in big bucks as he gears up for his 2022 re-election campaign. Yes, Governor DeSantis is running for re-election next year during the midterm elections. I don't think I'll face him, Trump said in an interview when asked about potentially facing DeSantis in the 2024 GOP presidential nomination showdown. I think most people would drop out. I think he would drop out. I'd beat him and I would beat everybody else, is what Trump said, concerning DeSantis and the rest of the field. That's just him boasting. That's just the way he is. DeSantis pushed back against the 2024 speculation this past week, telling Fox News host Sean Hannity, "I'm not considering anything beyond doing my job." And I think he's doing a fine job in Florida. I move to Florida tomorrow, but God, it's so hot there. It's so hot. I live in a smaller town maybe, but it's like living in southern Alabama. It's tough. It's beautiful. It's just too hot and too humid for me. My goal in the future is to move to Central Tennessee. So we'll see how it works out, but Florida's a beautiful state. We've got a lot of stuff going on in Florida. I'm going to be running for re-election next year. We're also working on a lot of things in the state beyond just the governor's race. The governor emphasized Thursday night on Fox News Hannity. Trump's interview comes less than a week before the former president's rally next weekend at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines. It's Trump's first stop since the 2020 election in the state, whose caucuses for a half a century have kicked off the presidential nominating calendar. Trump, when asked about running again in 2024, told Fox News in a recent interview, and this is all true, by the way. This isn't bolstering or maneuvering or posturing, whatever word you want to use. I don't think we're going to have a choice. And that's what he said before. Oh, there was speculation for years before 2016 whether he would ever run for president. And he always had the same answer. If I ever thought it got so bad for the country, I'd have to run. I think it's way worse off than he did in 2016, that's for certain. And for all intents and purposes, there is no incumbent to run against. It's what they call an open seat. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are not incumbents, I'm sorry. And the people won't see them that way, even though technically they are. I don't think we're going to have a choice. And on September 11th, during a stop in New York City, police precinct and neighboring firehouse in Midtown Manhattan, as he paid tribute to first responders in the 20th anniversary of 9/11 terror attacks, Trump said, "I know what I'm going to do, but I'm not supposed to be talking about it yet from the standpoint of campaign finance laws, which frankly are ridiculous." And he's right. All these federal laws kick in. Even if you don't make an official announcement, all of a sudden, all the laws kick in. And they're after them now for nickel-dime stuff they never get. So if he said he was going to run and didn't set up the proper financial things you need to do for Federal Election Commission, he could be in a lot of trouble. So I can't say. And that's not him posturing. He's actually telling the truth. So we'll have to see. I hope. I went back and forth for a while that maybe Donald Trump rung again would bring out the I hate Donald Trump people, that all they wanted to do in the 2020 election was get Trump out. They didn't care who it was. That their hatred for him and their insanity concerning him clouded their judgment so badly that I don't want those kind of people voting, to be honest with you. Vote out of hatred? No, you got to have a better reason than that. And I'm afraid those people will come out of the woodwork again. But I think things are so bad now. Remember, I know this is my opinion, but I think I'm right. If it wasn't for COVID, Donald Trump would have got reelected. I personally believe that. The Democrats did what they had to do in order to win the presidency. Can't go into details because this is YouTube and you get in trouble. So, next year is the midterms. 2024, there won't be any COVID epidemic or pandemic. Unless, of course, one is created, which I pray to God they're not crazy enough to do that. So we'll see. So right now, I'm leaning towards about 70, 75%, maybe even 80% Donald Trump to run again. I hope he does. So I think the Republic's on the edge of a cliff. You know, it's funny, whether you hate him or love him, or even love or hate Tucker Carlson, if I'd have said 10 years ago that a little baby-faced nerd with a bow tie called Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump, billionaire playboy real estate developer, those two would be the two people that would end up saving this republic, you would have been put in a nut house. So one never knows what the future holds. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.